This video will be discussing some of the biases and social group theories that are involved with racism. I'll be covering the explicit and implicit biases, as well as the social identity and self-categorization theories. First is explicit bias. This is also known as blatant or conscious bias. These would be beliefs and feelings, behaviors that one might have towards other racial groups that they would admit and are conscious of. One of the easiest examples of this is the Nazi Party, as well as the Confederacy and the KKK. Explicit biases look like very blatant and very loud expressions of racism. Next is implicit bias. This is also known as unconscious or subtle bias. These are certain beliefs and behaviors one might have towards a racial group that they're not aware of or have not examined yet. An example of this would be a white person feeling threatened and holding their things if a black person, specifically a black male, were to come near them. In context of race, an in-group is the racial group that you belong to, and an out-group is just everyone who isn't part of your racial group. So now the social identity theory comes in. This theory starts with just the tendency to favor the group that you belong to. Now, in the social identity theory, when someone really favors their group, they then begin to dislike other groups. For example, competing sports teams tend to dislike each other, and this dislike is almost always rooted in the favoritism for their in-group. A sub-theory of the previous is the self-categorization theory. This is the tendency to consider oneself as good and others as bad. So when you associate yourself with good and others as bad, people who look like you are good and people who don't are bad. These are just a few of the many concepts in social psychology that are involved with racism and even just social groups. I think these concepts are really important to remember so you can point them out, acknowledge them, and understand them.